Hi everyone, welcome to Talking Tech, the Inside View. I'm your host, Caroline Hill. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Legal IT Insider. And today I'm joined by Richard Miskella, who is the Joint Managing Partner and Head of Employment at leading UK law firm Lewis Silkin, which has just released Delphius, an AI-powered global employment law tool for in-house legal and HR teams. And it's been developed in partnership with Jus Laboris, which is a global alliance of employment law firms. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Caroline.
Thanks so much for joining me. So tell me, so you obviously have been heavily involved in this. You were quoted on the press release, which is always really nice to see. Thanks so much.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. These things always are, Richard, aren't they? Tell me about Delphius. So for people who haven't seen the release and also just want a bit more information, tell me about Delphius. What does it do?
I thought you summed it up beautifully. You've obviously been paying attention to the press release. Thank you. It's an AI-powered legal information tool about employment law. It covers 55 countries at the moment, but we're ambitious to extend that. And it's for employment lawyers and HR professionals with multinational remits. To be honest, anybody who has more than one country of responsibility can get a lot of benefit from this. Okay. And sorry, go ahead, Jen.
No, carry on. Sorry, carry on.
No, the idea is that you have the ability to do natural language searching to get comparative information tabulated in an easy to digest manner. It can be exported for your use. You can ask follow-up questions to refine those answers. All the sources are cited, and also we're very transparent about the searches and the search terms that are used, so you can investigate all of that to understand how we gave you the answer we gave. It provides information about upcoming changes in the law in the countries that you've requested, which might affect the answer within the next 3 months. It also has a section that will tell you mooted changes coming up within the next 2 years that might also have an impact. So if, for example, you're starting to do some research about a huge restructuring project that might go on for a year or two, it could be that what we've given you is the correct answer today. But in some of the countries, there'll be changes happening within the next 3 months, which will mean it'll have an impact on that. And then in other countries, it may be that there are mooted changes which could require consideration in order to factor those into your strategy, because they might take place in the next 2 years. And so the idea is that it creates this really good, sensible grounding. So you can get a kind of 80% overview of the important issues. And then it's got the ability for you to just contact a lawyer immediately. So if you have questions about any of that stuff, you click a button, you can contact a lawyer, you can set up a call, or you can get into an email exchange, you can send them documents to look at. So that's the idea, that it's a seamless integration between information provided in a good, modern technological way, seamlessly integrated with our lawyers.
And so it's not just for clients. When I first read it, I thought it was for clients, but actually it's not just for clients. As in, if I was looking at
no, it's for in-house employment lawyers in client organizations. So there's thousands and thousands of lawyers in companies who have got to have these remits. Often they're regional. So you have an EMEA or Eurasia responsibility. And obviously no lawyer, however brilliant they are, can be across 20, 30 countries and have really detailed answers to everything. So you still need local advice, but there's a whole role for these regional and multinational lawyers and HR people to advise the business about projects that span more than one jurisdiction. And so it's a tool for them.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking, so is it, and I'm not going to dive deep into the commercials, but is it sort of a subscription based type product?
Yeah. So you pay a license per user.
Right, fine.
So,
okay.
If you're a company and maybe there are 10 or 20 people in your organization with these multinational responsibilities, you might buy licenses for those people.
Okay. And so where does it draw the information from?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, because when we were talking to clients, what they were saying is, at the moment, there isn't anywhere that really provides them with absolutely reliable, up-to-date, trusted information, and that doesn't have a risk of hallucinations and so on. So that's the beauty of the Jus Laboris Alliance. So it's an alliance of specialist employment lawyers. So, and it's one of those things, it's a bit Groucho Marxy, if you want to join, you can't necessarily, you have to be invited, and then you have to pay fees to join in order to allow us to do these kinds of projects. And so that really pulls people together. But the idea is you're selected within your jurisdiction as being one of the top employment law practices. So a lot of the big international law firms, they're really fantastic at doing cross-border transactional work, but they're not as consistent in every jurisdiction at employment law work. And what we're saying is this is consistently high quality information in every single jurisdiction. You're getting the best lawyers in each jurisdiction feeding into this. So there's a sort of front end to the tool that the clients can actually access. Then there's a whole back end to make it as easy as possible for all the lawyers in all those jurisdictions to keep everything completely up to date. We also have a team of knowledge lawyers working on it and editors, so that there's lots and lots of different ways to try and capture and make sure that the information is always up to date. But it comes fundamentally from those 57 brilliant law firms that we work with around the world.
Okay, so the sort of the AI element is really kind of the way that they're interacting with it. So it's almost like a database, a portal of information, that employment law information that's kept up to date by lawyers. But the kind of the new angle is the way that clients or prospective clients, whoever it might be, are interacting in terms of natural language and the way that they're able to interrogate it. But so from the front,
so exactly. So with existing sources of information, a smart HR employment lawyer, they can sift through, they can read essentially sort of chapters of information on the internet, and they can try and piece together the information themselves. What they were crying out for was a tailored answer to a specific question, so that you can cut out all the unnecessary stuff that they didn't need to know. So it's really a case of taking, all the information that all these employment law firms had and breaking it into easily digestible, AI-friendly content, and then training the AI. So we were very lucky. We had 18 friendly clients who were really, really desperate to have a tool like this and said that they would work with us on it. So we built a prototype, and then we kept working with them, and they were constantly up rating and down rating the answers and explaining why in text boxes and so on. And so we were able to train the AI just to start giving them the answers they actually wanted. That was about a 6-month process. And that's where the real value. So there's two super value propositions. One is the quality of the information, the consistency and the breadth of the information. The other one is the fact that we were very lucky to get all these clients helping us to train the AI to give focused answers.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. So and this also so it's great you were working with lots of clients and internally. So was it it's obviously a very practice-led initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we've been talking to our clients for years about technology. To be honest, most of them aren't very happy with legal IT, certainly not very happy with the kinds of products and services that law firms provide, often feeling that they miss the mark and that there's a lot more advertising puff around them than substance, if you don't mind me saying. And for a mid-sized law firm like us, about 130 million turnover, it's very difficult and daunting to try and compete with the giant multinational law firms who've got multi-billion-dollar revenue, and of course then you've got all the legal tech providers who are incredibly well resourced too. So at first we were thinking, well, how can we help our clients with this, because it's clearly a huge pain point. But then it occurred to us that actually, if you've got a unique set of information, like you've got, for example, with the Jus Laboris employment law content, actually, maybe we do have that ability, and that the cost of doing these things had actually come down sufficiently that smaller law firms like us could actually enter the fray. So it's been quite an exciting journey. We had no idea what we were doing, to be quite honest, when we started on the journey. We've learned fast. And it's the way our CTO described it to me is, he said, you started out with a project mentality and now you've developed into a product mentality. I don't know whether that means lots to your listeners, but it means a lot to me now. And it's been a fascinating journey, and I now understand what it takes to build products and then to continually develop it. Launch with a minimum viable product and continually add to it, and every year be able to show your users that you've improved the tool in manifest different ways. So it's been a really enjoyable experience. I feel like I've learned a lot.
I love that, and I love the candor, to be honest with you. And like law firms are not they're not tech shops. And actually, I think that from speaking to clients, what they do want, and they want firms that are willing to experiment with them. They want firms that are willing to be honest with them. They want firms that are willing to learn and to grow. And I think those are as important at the moment. That may change in the future, but right now I feel like that's where we are. Clients want to be able to partner with firms and say, this is what we need. I feel like sometimes it's focusing on the end result. There's a trend with new technology to just buy tech now, because it's just cool and you have to have it without really still focusing on that end problem. But I think when you work with partners, with clients in this case, and you focus on what their needs are, I think they really, not surprisingly, respond well to that.
It's good to hear you say that, because I'd sort of hoped that was the case, but we were just so delighted. We were quite humbled actually by the willingness of clients to work with us, because we were sort of like, why would they work with us? But their appetite for it, if you're prepared to try to build something that we actually want and actually to listen to us, of course, why wouldn't we? So that was a fantastic thing. And to be honest, it's a great thing from a much broader perspective for a lawyer who's trying to be essentially a consultant or an advisor to a business. You learn so much about their commercial context, their strategy. You're just able to understand them a lot better once you've been through an experience like this with them, working hand in hand with them. And their generosity is really the reason why the tool got built in the first place. I think if we just launched with our best idea of what they probably would like, they wouldn't have liked it at all.
So, I mean, you've seen this with vendors, legal tech vendors. They used to just launch without speaking to law firms or the end client, and now there's a lot more collaboration. I feel like the profession has evolved generally in terms of, well, we do really need to speak to the people who are going to be using this before we actually, unveil it in this. And they go, sorry, excuse me. And they say, actually, this is completely off the mark. I feel like that's an evolution of the legal sector.
Yeah, and we're all going on the same journey together. I mean, say if you take my specialism of employment law, the growth of in-house employment lawyers in the last 15 years has been huge. And the jobs they do now are fascinating, really interesting, broader than a lot of the private practice jobs. And we're all trying to understand, what is AI going to do to our profession? And it's a continuum. And I've had one client sort of say, well, actually, the sort of goal set strategically by their main board, it's a global company, is we want to provide tools to our business managers that allow them to essentially deal with 80% of legal related queries just using the tools. So then the legal function will only deal with the 20% that's the hardest stuff. But then they want the legal function to be able to deal with 80% of that stuff, and to then only have law firms like us come in for the final 20% of that 20%. So if you think about it, if there's a set of 100% of problems, law firms, in their mind, should only really deal with about 4% of them. And the legal function internally should only deal with about 20%. So that's the ambition that some main boards at least, have for technology. That it's going to provide an enormous amount of support on the legal side. So if you're a law firm sitting there like us, you think, well, we either get in there and help them, or someone else is going to do it, right? And it was surprising that there aren't, that in this arena with Delphius, it didn't appear that anyone else had been talking to them about that, which is, quite exciting for us.
I've seen over the years, I've seen not dissimilar ambitions and tools, provide, but they've been harder to deliver, and they've been there's been lots of the challenges. The tech hasn't been there. They've been hard to keep up to date. There's been all sorts of things. That the ambition's been there, but I think now perhaps we're getting to the stage where you can create these really scalable offerings, which I think are kind of actually delivering what they've said they were going to deliver. I've seen, over the years I mean, law firms have always been about knowledge, and they've always wanted to provide clients with scalable research tools. I've seen it over the years, but it's been really hard to deliver them well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, that was one of the most daunting challenges. Are you going to get, lawyers in 57 countries to consistently keep everything up to date? The nice thing about Use Laboris is we are, my firm's been the UK and Ireland member of Use Laboris for over 20 years. We know each other. We're a sort of band of brothers and sisters. And you can look each other in the eye and say, are we going to do this? And then people really do. They step up and they deliver. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
And we do have so many sort of safety nets in place for the quality of the information. That, I think, is probably the biggest risk. I'm very confident about the technology. We've hired a product team, so they all look great. I don't understand anything they do, but they're fabulous. And so I'm really confident they will continue to develop new capability in the tool. And our clients, we're doing our demonstrations now for clients. They're just giving us a shopping list of this is great, but even better if, what about this, what about that? So we've got a growing list of things that they want us to do. And that's really exciting because you can see that there's going to be this wonderful growth phase for that particular product, and it's going to grow arms and legs and become much more sophisticated. But it all boils down to, will everyone show up and make the changes? And that's why we had to invest in this core knowledge team to make sure that we're catching all of those things. We can't just rely on the local law firms.
No, okay. To what extent, just lastly, we've talked about the clients and the way you're working with them, and perhaps the emphasis on AI as well. But to what extent are you, in the conversations you're having with clients, are they sort of asking you, saying, well, what AI do you have? What tech do you have? And to what extent is that becoming a really critical part of the conversation?
It absolutely is. I mean, for the last few years, they've fallen into two camps. There'll be an ever diminishing group of clients who'll say, you need to give us a cast iron guarantee you won't be using any AI on our products. And usually that's for, confidentiality concerns, or because they think it's just not going to give you a good quality answer. But as I say, those clients are becoming rarer and rarer. And there's this hugely growing group of them who are saying, if you're going to pitch to us, you need to show us how you're using technology to be much more efficient in the delivery of the services. We don't want to be paying unnecessarily for analog ways of doing things. So absolutely, they will ask us, what tools have you got and how are you using them? And it's you have to have a good answer to it. Yeah.
I think it's great, and I think it's great that excuse me, it's you that's got the cold, Richard.
Yeah, no, I haven't passed it on through the screen. Yeah,
I sound like I think it's important to have those nuanced conversations. I think it's great that you're growing that side of the business, and you can have those really sophisticated conversations, because sometimes it's not about AI, actually. Sometimes it's about something else. But what it is about, I think, working together and just coming together almost as a team with the clients and just saying, right, what is it you're trying to achieve? Which I think is why it's so great that you worked so hand in hand with them on this to try and achieve that objective together.
Well, our ethos as a firm is bravery and kindness. We want to be ambitious, we want to be brave, and we want to try new things. And in order to do that, you have to create a kind environment so that people can try and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And we try and do that with our clients, and our clients are part of our community. They're the core of it all. And this whole process, I mean, those clients were brave and kind. They were critical friends, if you like, is another way of putting it. They said, look, we love you guys, we really want you to succeed, but this stuff needs to be better, or whatever. It was the best thing they could have possibly done. So we've learned so much from them. And I appreciate, the other scary thing is, even if it's really good and the market loves it today, in 6 months' time, they might say, this is looking a bit dated. There's more interesting things. So we realize that we've just hit the starting piston. We've got to run. So it's that long-term partnership, as you say, with the clients, and to keep talking to us and saying, it was fine yesterday, it's not okay today. What can you do? Let's work with you. Let's help you. Let's help you keep focused on the target every time. But it's a lovely dynamic relationship, and I hope it'll be very fruitful for them and for us.
Thank you. Well, look, Richard, it's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best. Take care.
Bye.